Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Scrum. I'm Kevin Rouch. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd. We're glad to have you with us. We're coming to you from Studio B in the Elmwood Media Complex, and we've got a big guest today. We will be talking to the director of broadcasting with the Columbus Clippers, Ryan Mitchell, also their play-by-play announcer, general, just good guy, and a really talented play-by-play guy. And I, as an old play-by-play guy, I am not afraid to say that. We'll talk about it a little bit, but he came two after me. I worked for the Chillicothe Paints, which at that time, they were part of the Frontier League, which was an independent league, kind of equivalent to short season A ball, low A, and great organization, still around, but now they play college wood bat baseball in the Prospect League in the summer. If you ever want, well, we should do a show down there. They Chillicothe Paints are great. Our good friend Brian Wickline down there is the guy who runs the show. We'll talk to Brian, see if we can get down to do that. But anyway, I did that for, I think, 4 years for them after working for the Zanesville Grays. Matt Andrews came after me. Yes, that Matt Andrews, who works on the Ohio State football broadcast and does baseball for the Buckeyes as well. And then Ryan came after Matt Andrews. So we had this like stream going of people that were independent baseball guys who went on to do, well, they both did great. Ryan, of course, doing AAA ball. Matt did AAA for the Reds down in Louisville before coming back to Ohio State, his alma mater. But anyway, we'll talk to Ryan about all that stuff here in just a little bit. You know, one thing, I'm kind of an organization buff. I'm not sure I do it right all the time, but I like watching some of those videos to be organized in a business sense. And one of them, I just saw the other day, was talking about practicing gratitude, not just as a individual human being, but also as part of a business, is to be grateful for those that have helped. And I thought about that. We're in the middle right now of what is one of the busiest weeks of the high school schedule. We've got all kinds of state tournaments going on. Baseball is in regionals. They'll finish up in the state next week. They're the last ones in terms of the spring season. But I thought about it because we sent in our credential request to Ohio High School Athletic Association, and their director of media relations is a fellow by the name of Tim Streed. And I don't know if he'll ever hear this or somebody might tell him about it, but I am grateful for Tim Streed. He has been more than generous with us, as sometimes we are forgetful or, maybe our foot's over the line at the basketball state tournament. No, he's never weighed in on that, although some people have. But he's just one of those guys that gets the work done and is just super nice, even in the most hectic time for Ohio High School Athletic Association, the OHSAA. They take some body blows once in a while from folks because they're not an official government entity. They operate at the pleasure of the schools that they represent. And Tim handles all of that with just a lot of grace. And again, he has been nice to me for a long time. And then in our iteration here of C-Bus Sports, he has made sure that we get to the places we need to be and help us with our coverage. So today, I think we'll mark Tuesdays as Gratefulness Day. I don't know if that's a word, or it's that part of the week that we'll be grateful. So this Tuesday, I'm grateful for Tim Streed, Director of Media Relations at Ohio High School. All right. Moving on. National news. Well, we just keep talking about it because it's coming up, but the NBA is going to start their playoffs. They'll have a first-time champion coming out of the best-of-7 series. That starts on Thursday. The Indiana Pacers at the Oklahoma City Thunder. And again, neither of those teams have won an NBA championship. So someone will emerge from that. They've both been to the finals, but not able to get to the other side of that. The game Thursday starts at 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time and will be on ABC. The NHL playoffs, which is a rematch, the finals, a rematch of a year ago with Florida and Edmonton. They get underway tomorrow. And in fact, we will have our guest tomorrow. He's our first two-time guest, is Ed Francis from First Ohio Battery. Ed will talk to us about the NHL playoffs, and I got a couple of goalie questions for him, so we'll go over that. And that'll be tomorrow. Ed Francis will be aboard to talk about the playoffs, and the opening game is in Edmonton, and that'll be on TNT at 8 o'clock. So Florida at Edmonton on TNT at 8 p.m. A couple of former Blue Jackets playing for Florida. Of course, we know Sergei Bobrovsky. Bob has been there for a while and has a championship under his belt. But joining them this year via trade from Chicago, Seth Jones is on the D-line for the Panthers. And when I was watching, he was running point on the power play for Florida. So it'd be interesting to see him play. Loved him when he was here. Bob, of course, winning trophies while he was here. So both those guys now in Florida. Let's see if they can get the back-to-back championships in Southern Florida. So, So NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs coming up. We're going to talk about the Clippers tonight. That's where I'm going to be. I'll be at Huntington Park tonight, taking some pictures and video and hopefully getting a nice story out of it. And we hope that the Clippers rebound from having lost now 7 straight, 6 in the series at Rochester. Did not get a win in New York. So maybe they'll be able to do it all. They're going to be playing a pretty hot team in Toledo tonight. Most people coming tonight may not care quite as much about how good Toledo is as they will be about eating dime a dog hot dogs tonight. That is what's going on. Tuesday used to be Mondays, but now generally teams don't play on Mondays. They travel and then do a 6-game series. So the first of the 6 games against the Mud Hens tonight, and it is indeed dime a dog night. Looking through other notes, if you go to our page today on cbussports.com, you'll see a couple of the state tournaments coming up, both of them with, actually 3 when you think about it, all of them with lots of CBUS area teams involved. Looking first at softball, and that's where I'm headed off to tomorrow morning because we haven't been at a game yet with Liberty Union. They are actually defending their state title. They will start tomorrow morning at Firestone Stadium in Akron. 10 o'clock, again, is the first pitch, if I didn't say that, and I will be there. We'll be taking some photographs and video and hopefully getting a good story that they've won, and we'll move on to the finals on Friday night. They have lost just 1 game this year. I think that was to Bloom Carroll. But again, Liberty Union, the Lions, looking for back-to-back state titles, and they're still relatively young. So I'm not sure this will be their last appearance in Akron, at least not next year. I mean, I think next year they real good chance of being there as well. Other games going on, if we work up from Division 5, again, it'll be Liberty Union and Akron Manchester on Thursday at 10. Manchester 25-5. Oak Harbor, and I didn't look to see who the winner of Wheelersburg and Wellston. We'll know that tomorrow and let you know that. But anyway, that's the other game. The winner of that game with Oak Harbor, and then the winner of the regional final, and I should know that already, but I don't. And Liberty Union, if they win, that's who they will get. And again, their state final game is going to be on Friday at June 6th, again at Firestone Park. Division 2, we've got a team there, Mount Vernon, who has played very well. We did one of their games. They're on one of John Hulkenberg's incredible photo galleries, so you might check that out. Just go to the photos, just click on that on the homepage. But Mount Vernon, 26-2, taking on Anthony Wayne, who is 25-4, and that game will be Saturday at 12:30 p.m., just afternoon. Painesville Riverside and Massillon Perry on the other side. Massillon Perry's the little engine that could here. They are 15-17-1 and will just caught fire at the right time. They will be in that other semifinal in Division 2. The winners, the Division 2 final game, will be Sunday at 1:30 in Akron. Division 1, we've got one team left as well in Division 1. It'll be Lancaster, who's had a whale of a season, and again, another really good season. They are 25-2. They'll be taking on Lebanon at 21-3. That'll be Saturday at 5:30 in the evening. The other semifinal in Division 1 is Centerville taking on Massillon Jackson. So both of the Massillon high schools, two of the three, will be there. Washington not. But Centerville and Massillon Jackson will be playing in the other semifinal. So if Lancaster makes it through, they'll be playing for the championship on Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So again, Lancaster in Division 1, Mount Vernon in Division 2, and Liberty Union defending their state title in Division 5, and we'll be up there on Thursday, if I didn't say that right. Thursday is their first game at 10 o'clock in the morning. And not only are we making the drive up there to do the game, we're going to be dashing back within the speed limit to get back to do our show here at 3 o'clock. So we'll make all that happen. I'm not worried about that, but it has been a fun year for softball in the area, and really good competition. Of course, one of the great games, Lancaster and Gahanna, coming down the line this year, both of those teams, and there is a lot of youth really on all the teams around town. So you'll see a lot of these same folks doing battle next year, and of course we'll keep an eye on it. The other thing that we are going to cover on the weekend will be lacrosse. We have got a lot of Central Ohio teams playing in Division 1. Olentangy Liberty and Hudson are playing tonight at Ashland University. That's a 7 o'clock game. So Liberty up at Ashland playing Hudson in the state semifinals. Upper Arlington tonight is they're playing at Wittenberg against Cincinnati Sycamore. And again, that is at Wittenberg tonight at 7. We could have two teams in the finals, which will be in Division 1, which will be Saturday at Historic Crew Stadium. And we will be there to cover it. If we have just one local team, we'll be there to cover it. That's a 1 o'clock start on Saturday at Historic Crew Stadium. In Division 2 girls, we've got one team still working their way through, and that is DeSales. They will play tomorrow, Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy at Kettering Fairmont High School. So that is Wednesday at 7 o'clock at Kettering Fairmont over in the Dayton area, DeSales and Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy. The other semi being played at, I believe it's Copley High School up north. It's Hathaway Brown against Bay Village Bay. Bay Village Bay was in the state final last year, and that is Wednesday. That is tomorrow night up in at Copley High School. In the boys Division 1, we have two teams. Dublin Jerome taking on St. Ignatius tomorrow at Ashland. That game gets underway at 7, and of course, we'll talk about the next one. We've got a record holder now, but Dublin Jerome against St. Ignatius at Ashland tomorrow night. The other game tomorrow night is at Wittenberg. It's Worthington-Kilbourne against Cincinnati St. Xavier. Worthington-Kilbourne, of course, has the new scoring leader all time in Ohio high school. That is Cole Fisher, the senior attacker. He just now is 3 points ahead of Dublin Jerome's. That's why I hesitated on Dublin Jerome just a little bit. But he has the new mark taking over for Dublin Jerome graduate Merrick Sigurnis. Sigurnis now playing at the University of Denver, one of the very good NCAA teams. But 450 points now for Cole Fisher as he leads the way in his squad, again taking on St. X tomorrow at Wittenberg, 7 o'clock. Those winners play. We hope it's two of them. We hope it's Jerome and Kilbourne playing Sunday, 1 o'clock at historic Crew Stadium. And then Division II boys, still a team from the CBUS area playing. That is Bishop Watterson. They will play Cincinnati Marymount tonight, and that'll be at Kettering Fairmont. So Watterson taking on Marymount, 7 o'clock, that game at Kettering Fairmont. And then the other half of the bracket, Worcester taking on Rocky River at Revere High School up north. And they play tonight at 7 o'clock. The winners, and we hope Watterson is one of them, will be in the final match Sunday at 4 o'clock. So Division I boys play at 1 o'clock Sunday. Division II boys play at 4 o'clock Sunday. The girls will play on Saturday, state title for those that make it through this week. And that will be Division I at 1 o'clock, Division II at 4 o'clock. So, and we'll be there for any of those four games that a Central Ohio team is playing in. And I got a chance to do it last year and had a blast. So we'll be out taking pictures, video, hopefully getting a good story and a triumphant story for Central Ohio. And we look forward to that. Let's see what else we can talk about just a little bit before we get to our guest, who should be calling in any moment. And we'll look forward to talking to him. Let's see if we can. I want to go back to our website. Oops, that was not the way to do it. Something about being live that your fingers just get stupid and hit the wrong stuff. Well, we have a couple of stories that we put up yesterday. One is about the Ohio High School State Tennis Tournament that was played last Thursday, Thursday and Friday. We had 3 of the 4 champions from Central Ohio. Nason Lowe from Gahanna Columbus Academy. Actually, they have Ohio High School has Columbus Gahanna Academy. It's actually Columbus Academy in Gahanna. But Nason Lowe, that's the more important part, and we all got that right. He is a junior, and he got the singles title in Division II. So congratulations to him. The doubles title in Division II went to Sam and Henry Lassard. And you might recognize that Henry Lassard won the Division II singles championship last year as a freshman. So this year teamed up with his brother, Henry, and his brother, Sam. So Sam and Henry. Sam's a senior going to Colorado College. Henry is a sophomore. They got the win. And then in the Division I doubles, we had a championship as well there with Abhinav Dandu and Jackson Clements, a duo out of New Albany, and they won the Division I doubles. So we had Division I doubles, Division II singles and doubles for 3 out of the 4 championships that were available in play at Worcester. And they actually went inside on Friday just because of all the rain we had at the end of last week, but they all got it done. So congratulations to them. That story we just put up, so you can look at that. We also added the Ohio State athlete story where Ohio State sending 15 of their athletes to the Division NCAA Division I Track and Field Championships in Eugene, Oregon, starting on the 11th of June. And so we will be keeping track of that. But the cool thing was the fact that we had 4 Central Ohio athletes in that as well. Just to look at that quickly, we'll tell you about that. DJ Fillmore in the long jump. Again, these are Ohio State folks going to the National Track and Field Championships in NCAA Division I. DJ Fillmore, Licking Heights, men's long jump. Denzel, and I believe it's Fagan, but it could be Fegan. I apologize if I'm not getting that right. Denzel going to be part of the 4x100 relay, and he's from Pick Central. And then we have Noah Carmichael, who went to high school here in town at Cristo Rey, and Mason Lewis from Bexley. They're both part of the men's 4x400 relay. So again, DJ Fillmore, Licking Heights, Denzel Fegan from Pick Central. Sorry, lean sideways when I said it. Don't know if that made it right. And then Noah Carmichael, Cristo Rey, Mason Lewis from Bexley. All right, let's see if we have him. Are you there?
I am indeed.
Hey, Ryan Mitchell with us. By the way, I don't know if you heard me yesterday, and God forbid, I don't know why you would, but if you did tune us in yesterday, you would know that I was trying to make you Irish. For some reason, some distant memory made you Ryan Murphy, and it didn't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what, I've only known you, I don't know how many years, but it just didn't.
Well, listen, the good news is that I am Irish.
Okay.
The bad neus is I'd be much better off if I were Ryan Murray, because my bank account would have a lot more zeros
yes,
in it on the back end of the number.
Yes. Well, how are you, my friend?
I am, with the luck of the Irish, I'm doing just fine. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. So let me introduce my guest, Ryan Mitchell. He is the director of broadcasting with the Clippers. More important to me, he is the play-by-play voice of the Clippers. I think, is this 17 years?
Oh,
did I get that
right?
right?
You're going to make me do math.
No, I think it is.
It's the 16th year.
Okay.
I think it's the 16th
I looked at an article and did the math, and that was my fault. So, which means you've been in, pro baseball 23 years? Something like that.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Okay, and we'll talk about the beginning of that, all right? But
sure.
You are, and again, our staff spared no expense to delve into your background. A couple of things we're not going to talk about, but we do know that you went to high school at Woodmore High School. Is that correct?
I did indeed. That is correct.
In beautiful Elmore, Ohio, which is in the northwest part of the state.
It is. It combines the cities of Woodville and Elmore into one school district. They used to be separate, but at some point they decided, well, that's a little bit ridiculous. We're right next door to each other. Let's put it all together.
Okay, and from what town are you from?
Well, I was born in Toledo, lived there for the first 10 years of my life, and then moved out to neither Elmore nor Woodville, but a small unincorporated area in the country betwixt the two.
Okay. That sounds like a farm. Were you on a farm?
Well, we were farm adjacent.
Oh, okay.
We did not have a farm. We had quite a bit of grass that needed mowing, and it was great. We had a river right behind the house, the Portage River. So I guess you can call it a stream at that point. But but yeah, there was a lot of outdoors time and a lot of outdoors activity and a lot of land to take care of. But no farm to speak of. A garden that produced quite a bit of vegetation over the years, but no varmints, a lot of varmints, but no actual animals that we were caring for.
Gotcha. Okay, so you go to Woodmore High School, and you were a wrestler, among other things. Is that right?
Played football, wrestled, actually stopped playing baseball at high school because in Northwest Ohio, the weather is miserable.
Awful.
And because we lived out it's just terrible. And because we lived out in the country, whenever the weather was good, I had a buddy of mine who lived on, another, not quite as much acreage as we had, but he had a yard that had a split rail fence about 300 feet away from where the property ended. And so we would set up in the corner and we'd play home run derby and play baseball whenever we wanted to. Because I mean, baseball has always been my favorite sport, but after playing football and after wrestling, I needed a season of downtime once I got to high school, and that was the one that I took off and just watched baseball and played whenever we wanted.
Well, you know, I'm sure I was not as good an athlete as you were in high school, but I played all the sports as well in the beautiful Y-Bridge city of Zanesville. And, you know, my dad was the sports announcer on TV, so everyone assumed that I could, because he played Division I football and all that stuff. But but you and I both know that when you go to a team, any kind of professional baseball team, and you're the radio guy, which is what you're called for the first few months at least,
yes,
of your connection,
at least.
Is the radio guy on the bus was a question once in a while I would hear.
Right.
So, but you are given zero credit for ever having played anything. Would you say that's true?
Well, yeah, generally speaking, it's not always the case. I've known several guys over the years who played through high school. Some played in college. Generally speaking, the play-by-play guy gave it up when he realized he couldn't hit a curveball or couldn't throw 90 miles per hour or whatever the case is. That's when we said, okay, it's time to let the people who can do it, and I'll describe it. And that's kind of where it comes from. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about an unusual sport like wrestling, like most guys, you do the big three, right? Football, basketball, baseball, or football, basketball, track, or something like that. But when they hear wrestling, that's kind of when the ears perk up, and then you kind of figure, oh, there's something unique to talk about with the guys.
Yeah. Well, and I would go out. I had quite a few sandwiches before I then was at Chillicothe, where we both were. We'll talk about that. But I would go out and catch in fungo just so I could show them I could pick it a little bit. Still didn't get any credit. Or I would go out and shag during BP. And, it's amazing how many stories you can get out there. But I'm pretty sure that, Roger Hanners did not want me in the outfield. I got that message.
And that's, when I was with the Paints, as were you, I would do some of that as well, just because you're trying to help out as much as anything else.
Oh, sure.
Right? Because
it's independent baseball.
Wearing a million hats.
Yeah.
Right. There were 2, maybe 3 coaches on a team, and not enough bodies to go around, small roster sizes. And so you try and pitch in wherever you can. I actually picked up a fungo bat one day, and Marty Dunn made sure that was the last day that ever happened. But yeah, catching in for fungos, and every once in a while, I'll go over to first base for infield. I would do that on occasion, and every once in a while you make a nice pick, and you get the sarcastic round of applause and all that sort of good stuff. But yeah, it was as much a matter of understanding we are all in this small leaky boat together. Yeah. And let's try and pull the oars in the same direction.
Well, they wouldn't have let me at first base. I don't think the screen was big enough for my head. So I was pretty much behind. All right. So let's talk about that, because you then from Woodmore High School, you went, by the way, and I know that area because as a birder, I hate to say that. I'm going to say bird photographer. Oh, sure. Does that sound a little bit better? But, like McGee Marsh and the Black Swamp and all those things are up in that area. So I know that area really well. Was it super flat where you were?
Yes. Yeah, very flat. I think the highest elevation point in the region is the hill on the golf course at Bowling Green State University,
where you went to
exist anymore.
Yeah, where you went to college.
Yes.
I think the hill is still there, but the golf course is not. Yeah.
I drove by it the other day, and, just like when you're a kid and you have a sledding hill that you assume when you're a kid is Mount Everest. Yeah. And then you go by it many, many years later, you think, I could have just fallen over and been at the bottom of that thing with my feet not leaving the ground. Yeah. And so it's kind of the same with that hill in BG. When you're there and you play that course, you think, man, that's a long way up there. And then you drive by on the highway and you see it's overgrown and it's unkempt because there's no more golf course there. And you think, man, that's not very tall. But yeah, it's still the highest elevation point in BG.
Well, that's where you go to check for tornadoes up there. That is the
Yes.
viewing point to check out Wood County.
Indeed.
Well, so my dad, who again, a sports announcer, went to Bowling Green as well. Played football there for Doit Perry, who the stadium is named for.
Yes.
And told me that every day. He had and he goes through I didn't wear a face mask. We had to play both ways.
Well, the reason he has to tell you that over and over and over is because he didn't have to wear a face mask and he played both ways.
No, that's right. That's right. But he, and God rest his soul. He had, I think, an interception against Western Michigan that every year got like a yard longer. His return,
Sure.
And but he loved BG, and but he did not play football his senior year, so he could be the sports director at the radio station and get his career started. Yeah. But I know you covered, speaking of all the sports, obviously doing baseball now, but you did football and basketball there, so you've done play-by-play of all of them.
Yeah, I really only did the one basketball game just out of necessity because as a wrestling guy, by that point, by the time I got to college, I was coaching wrestling.
Okay.
And so I had very little downtime. I would have liked to have done hockey. Steve Mears, the current TV voice of the Columbus Blue Jackets, was at Bowling Green the same time I was. And he and a guy named Dave Crane basically did the flagship for hockey. And there were a few times when Steve was able to make a trip and Dave was, and he asked me, hey, can you fill in? And I was never able to because we had a tournament that weekend or whatever the case. So I was never able to do that, but I did a basketball game once. I did several football games, and I mean, you're the crew. You're trying to figure it out,
gosh, yes.
and buying long distance cards to try and get the game back to Bowling Green, via a telephone line, because it wasn't like it is today, where it's easy through the internet. It was quite a to-do to get a production on the air at a remote location. And, sometimes you'd be up on the roof of these press boxes and these big stadiums and because they didn't have room for you. But that's the way it went there. And it was all student run, like you were saying, your dad wanted to be the director there. BGRSO is all student run, or was at that time. I assume it still is. And, we had to figure it out, and it's a good way to learn because when you broadcast for a team, you're often a one-man band until you get to the major leagues, and when something goes wrong, there's nobody to call. You are tech support, so that's good kind of on-the-job training.
Well, that's why I was just beside myself sad when all the Radio Shacks closed because they were the saviors on the road for something that didn't work. Yeah.
If they didn't have a Radio Shack in the town you were in, you were pretty much out of luck if something went haywire. There was no, Amazon Prime one-day shipping or pickup or anything like that. There was a nerd in a store called Radio Shack that maybe could help you out, and boy, you gave that guy a little bit extra cash.
Oh my gosh!
So thank you very much.
Yeah, I can't tell you. And then there's, when you build the adapter chain. Well, anyway, we won't go into all that, but that was, sure, I can connect this to this. Sure, that's not a problem. So then I was kind of in a midlife, I guess, sort of midlife. I was a lot younger, but still midlife given my age now.
Hopefully you're midlife right now.
Well, let's all pray for that. But I went to the Paints after 4 years with the Zanesville Grays because they went out of business. They went dark. And one of the coaches, Eric Welch, who we both know,
yes, indeed,
went to coach at Chillicothe, and they weren't doing any radio yet. And he said, you should hire this guy. And I was still working during the day but I'd go down there and I'd said, well, this will be super easy. I'll go down because they told me they only do half the games. And I said, well, I'll go down for the home games. The half they did were the road games.
The road games, right. Yeah. You don't want to do the home games.
Yeah. So that was an adventurous, I did 4 years with them as well. And then of course, Matt Andrews came between us. Who now, did fine, did AAA ball in Louisville. And I guess he's working at Ohio State or something. I don't know. Rumors. But then you, so I would like to think I kind of set a baseline, you guys, and it just kept getting better. Would you agree with that analysis?
I don't know if it got any better, but at least we started doing the home games too. So you definitely laid a foundation, and it expanded over the years. And boy, and really the Chillicothe Paints, the people that have come since, they definitely owe a debt of gratitude for you kind of being at the forefront of that. And it grew and it grew, and then of course the Paints left the Frontier League and moved to College Wood Bat League, so the schedule shrunk. But the broadcast has persisted, and we had games on TV in Chillicothe before hardly anybody else on what is it, Horizon Cable, one of the first cable systems in the country.
They pulled that van around to the back of VA and let it rip, and there were no commercials when I did it. And so you kept talking through the break. You go right on through, and then the folks over at the radio station would try and sync it up as best as possible. And it was an undertaking every single time, but the community really seemed to appreciate having that access to their team. Yeah, and that team organization and the fan base just, they really, I think the Frontier League, when we were in it, was the premier. There were teams that were bigger, leagues that were bigger, but team for team, I really, I thought the Frontier League was a great place. And obviously for you and Matt, just tremendous places to get better and to move on. Yeah.
A lot of really good broadcasters started their career there. Matt and I were both there. Robert Ford was 2 years in Kalamazoo. He's been with the Houston Astros forever. Jason Benetti was there. Aaron Goldsmith, who was with the Seattle Mariners, was, I believe, an intern in Gateway.
Yep.
And there are plenty of others as well that have come through there. And Andrew Kappas was a do everything guy for the Florence Freedom in their press box, and now is doing games with the Indianapolis Indians. And so a lot of people have come through there. And for the Chillicothe Paints, all kind of came back to Doc Handers and Brian Wickline and Shirley Bandy, all those guys, and the late John Wynn. Just great people, and they were a lot of fun to work with and work for, and they've kept that thing going down there for a long time now.
Now, before we talk about the Clippers, one quick story. You mentioned John Wynn, who was the storied PA announcer at Chillicothe, might have had the deepest voice ever to be in a press box. And I had to be at a wedding one day on a road trip, and so they sent John up to do the radio, which the play-by-play was fine, but you could not hear him on the radio. His voice,
it was so deep, and yes. Well, and hacking through the haze and everything else. Yeah, it was.
There was a little bit of tobacco use in that press box. Yes, there was.
Well, and John was such a great guy, and loved that team, and
absolutely.
And there was nothing quite like when you hear at the end of the game, Paints win. Out of the mouth of John Wynn over those loudspeakers that he barely needed.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
That was a big part of Chillicothe Paints baseball.
Well, we had a great time there, but now let's move you forward a little bit here, okay? So before we talk about the Clippers, I want to talk about your career as a wrestling coach, because the thing that I didn't really Bill Lee, the commissioner of the Frontier League, and I would occasionally, and I don't really like pranks very much, but he would talk me into it. And of course, you had a very sophisticated colored marker pencil regimen that you used to keep score, which we all had a way. Mine was awfully disorganized on a legal pad because that's what I had in my briefcase. And do we even use the word briefcase anymore? I don't think so. So, yeah. And so Bill Lee and I would once in a while just mess around with your beautifully organized pens. And if I would have realized then how good a wrestler you were, I would have never messed with you. Now, I've paid a little more attention since then because I wasn't running with pens in my pocket to you. And I realized it when you were hosting on the Ohio High School Wrestling, the state championships. And
yes.
And I said, oh, and you look like a wrestling coach who was a former very good wrestler. And I escaped with my life in those days because I would have been zero match for that.
I think very good is a bit of an overstatement as far as my wrestling prowess went. But yeah, I had the pins. I had them lined up all nice and neat just because that way I could grab one without looking and know where it was to mark a walk or a home run. You guys, and listen, you were not the only ones.
Is that right?
Brian like to do that as well. Yeah, there were a few guys that thought it would rile me up a little bit to move those pins around. And I like things orderly, sure.
Yeah.
And listen, I haven't forgotten. And one of these days when you're at the ballpark,
it'll be tonight. I'll see you tonight
for that.
Yeah,
might could be. It's beautiful weather.
Yep.
And I hope to see you out here. But yeah, you probably should sleep with one eye open.
Well, I'm vulnerable out there. Let's be honest. I don't pay attention anymore. Just don't for about anything. But again, and we are going to get to the Clippers, I swear. But I want to just, on the wrestling side, you went back and coached at Grove City and got to coach your son, which I think is super cool. But just talk about that experience real quick about being able to jump in and do that at the D1 high school level. That's tremendous.
Yeah, one of the reasons I went to Bowling Green is they didn't have a wrestling team. And after I was done in high school, I thought, okay, I'm done with wrestling. That's it. Maintaining weight and all the training that goes. It's the hardest sport there is. There's no doubt about that. And a few years after I graduated high school, I realized how much I missed it. And so I started coaching. 3 years after I graduated high school, I went back to the high school, to Woodmore High School, and started coaching. And I coached there for, I think it was 7 years, and coached when we moved to Cleveland at University School for a year. And then when we moved to Grove City, I coached at the junior high level for a few years when my kids were very, very young. And then once I became full-time with the Clippers, that was too much. And so I kind of stepped away from that for a few years. And then once my son was old enough, he started when he was 9 years old in the youth wrestling. So I started coaching with the youth team. And when he went to junior high, I went back to junior high. And then when he was in high school, there happened to be an opening at Grove City for a head coach. And I fooled him into hiring me. And so I was the head coach there for 4 years. And it was super special, obviously, to coach my son, to spend that time with him and to share that. But the other thing that was great about it was the other kids in the program who I had coached from the time they were, 7, 8, 9 years old through high school. And there was a lot of relationships forged there and good stuff that went along with that. It was just a very, very special time. It takes up a lot of time and a lot of work, and you have to organize the schedule and the practice plans and the building use and all that sort of thing. When you're a head coach, you don't really just get to focus on the thing you love most, the coaching the kids.
And social media and all the news, all that stuff. Yeah.
All that stuff. You got to keep up on the social media. And I kind of started to teach myself how to make graphics a little bit those last couple of years and things of that nature, just because you try and keep up and make it as, wrestling is sort of an austere sport, but the 2020s don't allow for a lot of austerity.
Yeah,
so you have to kind of keep up with the Joneses to make sure that your kids are getting their due and all that sort of thing. That's stuff that I would rather eschew and just focus on wrestling and getting better at that. But that's not the age in which we live. And so, that's how it goes. And now that my son graduated, the wife kind of said, listen, you've been doing this a long time. We don't have anybody wrestling anymore. Maybe you should stay home a little bit more. And so after all that she has sacrificed over the years for me to be able to do this baseball stuff and the wrestling stuff, I kind of thought, well, yeah, that's probably a reasonable request.
Well, I got to tell you.
Oh, by the way, I'm old now too, and it's hard to get down.
Well, no, I was going to go help somebody. I was a catcher for a long time, and I was going to go help somebody just recently, and I realized I could not stay down in the stance for more than maybe a second. And so a knee got dropped, which I totally don't agree with. And but that's the way it was going to be. So, hey, and you and we're very much the same because we have great families, and they supported, which is just, and it's a weird job to do play-by-play or to travel with a team. Now, they do know where you are because they can turn on. It was funny because my wife Carol when I was at Chillicothe, we couldn't get the radio here in Columbus. She would, and she said it was just to support me. I think she was checking up on me. She would drive about halfway from here to Chillicothe to be able to pull it in and then drive right back home. And I think, so yeah. But they've been
make sure she knew where you were.
No, yeah. And, my son's got to be bat boys and, do all that stuff and get shown how to throw pitches before they should have and, speak some words maybe they shouldn't have in their active lexicon.
Yeah,
but,
there's that.
Yeah. So let's talk about this year's Clippers. And again, you and I have followed them even when we were doing other things just to kind of keep track of what's going on. But now that you've been there and in your 16th year, talk about this team a little bit. Boy, they've had some rough sledding lately. But it's a weird animal, isn't it, AAA? Because you lose guys, you get guys who are rehabbing. I mean, it's crazy, right?
The only thing, and this is tried and true and worn out and cliche and everything else, but the only thing consistent is change. The roster is going to change from week to week, day to day, certainly month to month. And guys are going to get hot, guys are going to get cold. And if the roster changes and your new guys haven't heated up yet and the guys that you have happen to be going through a cold spell, well, it can get real cold real quick, and it can take a while to pull yourself out of it. It's been a bit of a tough season so far. The Clippers actually started off very well with an 11-4 record after 15 games, tied for first place. But then, as happens, you're the holding tank for the major league team, and when Cleveland needed a couple of pieces, well, where do they go for them? They come to us. Yeah. And, a couple of guys that were off to very, very good starts get the call up to the major leagues to help the big club, but that leaves big holes. And at that point in the season, early enough where guys from AA may not quite be ready for that jump to the AAA level. And when they're forced into those situations, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's starting to get a little bit more healthy. We've got a couple of guys on this team now that Guardians fans are looking for. Chase DeLauder is healthy and playing pretty much every day now. And that's what Cleveland needs to see. They're pretty confident in his ability to hit, but he's been beset by injuries his entire career. And so he's going to have to prove that he can stay healthy on any kind of long-term basis. George Valera has been hurt his whole career. He just joined us today, so he'll be in there as a designated hitter today. And C.J. Kayfus is a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. He's done nothing but hit all year long, just 23 years of age, and they're trying to turn him into a more rounded defender, getting him time in the outfield. And so, Cleveland needs offensive outfielders. Yeah. And so they're trying to get guys into those roles where they won't be a square peg in a round hole when they get to the major league level. So they're trying to do some work down here with them. But, last week was tough. They lost all 6 games in Rochester and 3 of them in walk-off fashion, back-to-back-to-back days. So those things happen over the course of a 150-game season. It's how you react to it moving forward that's going to kind of determine how your season goes.
The guys that were playing really well, fun to watch early, the Wills, right? Will Brennan and Will Wilson. Yeah. Of course, they're with Cleveland now. And it's funny watching is, changes happen quick. Like we've written a summary of every game so far this season. And I try to be nice in the headlines, but last week was a challenge. The 3 walk-offs were tough. And I can't imagine I knew as a play-by-play guy, you got to try to keep up the energy, but man, that is just deflating when the game ends like that.
Yeah, it was a rough series. There's no doubt about that. And every team has that one place. When I was with the Chillicothe Paints, the place was Washington, Pennsylvania, where you knew one of those games, something was going to go sideways. And for the Clippers in the time that I've been here, it's Rochester. Really? Now, we haven't been there since 2019. But in the old days, as we call them, the pre-pandemic days, where you played every team every year, home and road, Rochester was the place where things went sideways. Yeah. And there was no real explanation for it. It didn't matter if the Clippers had a good team that year or a bad team that year. It didn't seem to matter whether Rochester was a good team or a bad team. Rochester never seemed to have good teams, frankly. But in those days, there were 4-game series when you went on the road outside of your division. You knew one or two of those games was going to come apart in the late innings without any real reason or explanation.
Right.
And so that's just kind of how it went, and it certainly went that way last week. But I guess the good news is you don't play Rochester again the rest of this year, so hopefully that one is in the rearview mirror. Yeah.
Well, I pain for you because, and people should know. So let's just talk about the ways you can watch and listen. You can the Bally app. I didn't even realize they were still doing it, but they do, and it's a free app, right?
Bally Sports Live app.
Right. And so when you guys are at Huntington Park, they'll hear your voice doing the games, as they will if you have MILB.TV, which is also part of MLB TV, which is how I watch, since I pay for that to watch as many things as I can. Again, you'll hear Ryan's voice on that. And then, of course, you can just listen to him, which is what I do, because I love, and I think play-by-play guys are like this. We love radio.
Yes.
We like to hear, and I think if you said to a guy, if the money were the same at any level, if you said you could do TV or do radio, we would all choose radio.
Radio, 100%.
Yeah.
You get to paint the picture. It's the theater of the mind. It's all that stuff. And oh, by the way, if you make a mistake, nobody knows. So that's the best.
A ball to right field is in right field. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's a little peek behind the curtain there.
Yeah.
On TV, if you say right field and it's in left center, everybody knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's radio is just it's the artist's medium.
Yeah, and it just a blast. I mean, we've all listened to the Vin Scully calling, great games at the end and the way power, even at the beginning, to paint pictures and do, we've all tried to do some of that, and it's just a lot of fun. So you can listen to Ryan anytime, any game, wherever they are on Fox Sports 920 AM, and I would tell you to do that. The problem with watching and listening to the delay thing, it's not quite synced, but I don't care. Even if I do want to see it, I'm still turning. I just want you to know.
Yeah, you got to play around with it a little bit and pause this one and pause that one. But yeah, Fox Sports 920 has a web stream that you can listen to and sync up maybe and pause it. So maybe that would act a little better for you. But yeah, and that web stream is up home and away. And when the Clippers are on the road, if you watch on the Bally's Live app or MILB TV, you're going to get the home team's call. No matter where the ball game is, you're going to get the home team broadcasters. But yeah, it's always our broadcast on Fox Sports 920 and the online stream. So you can always access it that way as well.
Well, I try not to, as I'm listening to you, especially on the road, I try not to message you too much, but sometimes it's because I'm writing a story. Like the other day, you had 2 runs came in on box.
Yes.
Remember in the first inning of a game? I think, was it in Rochester?
Absolutely. Yeah. The Clippers scored 3 runs in an inning, and 2 of them, one was a bases loaded walk, and then the next 2 scored on balks.
Yeah. So I look on the thing and I see, all these runs, and, there aren't that many RBIs. So, if you read box scores, something went crazy. So anyway, but that's the kind of, so once in a while I'll send you, and I think I sent you a text saying, hey, because I wasn't listening when that happened. I got to it late. Apparently I couldn't make the sandwich fast enough. And I tuned you in and I went, wait, what kind of balk? What, that kind of stuff. Or I'll just fanboy you and say, hey, great job. Because I know there are days where you're, especially, and again, no offense to the day camps that come out, but when you have a whole stadium full of young kids at 10 or 11 in the morning, you got to earn your check that day. I mean, it can be exciting for a lot of I remember going to Thurman Munson Stadium in Canton that had the loudest metal stands anywhere in the world. I think that's in the Guinness book. I'm pretty sure. And they had great camps because that place was filled. And you just couldn't, you would not hear any of the action on the field or barely your voice. And maybe that's the way they wanted it. I don't know, but it was,
certainly. Yeah. Those are good, loud crowds.
Love them. And love to have them.
There's a good energy in the ballpark. But here's the other thing. For a lot of those, when it's the school adventure days or whatever, is happening, those kids got to get back to school.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You've got this huge, loud, just cacophony of sound for the first 6 innings of a ball game. And then when everybody leaves, the school kids get on the buses and they head back home. The letdown in the energy in the ballpark is palpable.
Yo,
and
I can only imagine.
It's like a coming down off of a sugar rush.
Yeah.
There's just this crash. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
All right, so you got Toledo coming in tonight. I'll let you go after this. Toledo coming in. They played well. You saw them early, so they've got to be completely different, I would imagine. Or maybe not, because Detroit has played well, so I don't know how much up and down they've had. But, what are you looking forward to? And if we're coming to the game tonight, I am coming to the game tonight, what are we looking for on the other side of the field?
Well, the Tigers have some of their pretty good prospects at the AAA level. Jace Young has had a call-up this year. He didn't really translate well to the major leagues. Hao-Yu Lee is a prospect, just 22 years of age, from Taiwan. He's a guy that can really play, and the Tigers like him a lot. Justin Henry Malloy is another guy that just came down today from Detroit. He's been a big part of what the Tigers have been doing for most of the year. He's only played 3 AAA games this year. He was with the team at the beginning of the season when we saw them the first 3 games of the year, as was Jace Young. And they both got a call up. Akil Baddoo is a guy that's bounced up and down over the past several years. So they've got some pretty good position players. On the pitching side of things, not quite as much in the way of prospects, but it's always interesting to see Matt Manning, who was a first-round pick. Is he finally going to figure it out? He's 27 years of age now. So this is a pretty important year for him. He's still in the rotation there. We'll see him at some point this series, obviously. But, yeah, there's definitely some names to watch if you are a Tigers fan in the Buckeye State to keep an eye on.
Well, of course, they're at the major league level. They got a pretty good catcher up there that came through Ohio State and is playing well for the Tigers. So a lot of local connections with the Tigers. In fact, the first game I ever saw, my dad grew up in Michigan, was at Old Tiger Stadium. So I still think about that. Yeah, all the time. Oh, well, I know you got some prep to do, so we'll let you go. We'll see you in a couple hours over there. But have a great call. And I just want to say this because, this is Tuesday. We are grateful on Tuesdays. I don't know. We're trying to be mentally fit here.
There you go.
So, yeah, and I already thanked Tim Street over at Ohio High School. That was my gratefulness today because he's been taking care of us the last couple of weeks, getting ready for state tournaments of various kinds. So we did that. But I want to tell you, and I told you this the other day when we were hanging out a little bit, I think people, and, I say you should listen. It sounds like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But let me just say this about Ryan Mitchell. And I don't say this lightly because I have done a lot of play-by-play in my life, and frankly, I'm jealous of people that are better than I am, and it's hard to get out of my mouth, but not with Ryan, because I think his call on the radio, it's why I like dialing him up on 9:20 a.m. just to get that in again. But it's one of the reasons I think he describes the play on the field in a way that it's easy to know what's going on. And if you've ever listened to someone who either overtalks it or undertalks it, guess which one I was. I think that I know exactly what's happening. I know the tenor of the game. You've done your research. You know about these guys. You just have the ability to mix in the facts with what's going on in the field and paint the picture that, I got to be honest with you. You should be at the next level. Maybe the Clippers are mad at me saying that because they want you to stay. But I am saying that you would do very well at the next level, and I would be excited for you to do that, provided I got tickets. That would have to be the call. All right.
Well, if you can make it happen, I'll get you on the list.
No, I'm serious, but let's do California someplace, okay? Let's
California it is.
Okay. No, but I meant it.
It's warm here today.
Yeah. Well, no,
thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say, and I appreciate it. And I think that's the goal of everybody to when somebody is listening to the ball game, they know what's happening and when and what it means. And if I can do that, then I've done my job.
Yeah. Well, I hope that people who are driving through Columbus either have it on Sirius or streaming 920 or just doing the old fashioned put it on AM in their car, because I think they would be well served to understand exactly what's going on in the game. And again, I've been lucky because being around you and Matt and a lot of other really good guys, when I was doing baseball stuff, you just learn every day. And, it's just fun. And plus it's fun. So there you go. Okay. Last question. This is it. Not counting Huntington Park, which of course is fantastic. What is your favorite minor league park to do a game in?
Ooh, that's tough because there's a lot of things that go into that. Your sight line, the booth location. Do they have a crowd mic? Toledo is near and dear to my heart, obviously. I actually called the first ever game there at Fifth Third Field. It was a soft open between UT and Bowling Green.
How about that?
And before the Mud Hens actually played a game. And I was working in the market at the time for a local radio station. And when the Mud Hens opened, we were the sports station in town. We had the Mud Hens. I went out and did, man on the street interviews. And so that was a lot of fun. So that one is always going to really hold a special place in my heart. But man, around the International League, there's a lot of really good ballparks. We haven't been to Charlotte in a long time, but that's a good one. The new ballpark in Worcester, Massachusetts, Polar Park for the AAA Red Sox is really a good one as well. Some of these places like the backdrop at Louisville Slugger Field with the Ohio River is so great, and the people as well. I really, of the new teams in the International League, I like Iowa a lot. Principal Park. It's a bit of an older ballpark, but it's a really good setup and a neat backdrop. The Capitol building with its golden dome is beyond the center field wall. And the Des Moines and Raccoon Rivers meet right there outside of the right field corner. It's a really cool place to watch a ball game. So it's really hard to choose one, but I think just being home in Toledo is something I really find special.
Yeah, one of the factors you didn't list there was the amount and quality of free food, but we'll venture down that way another day because we'll have you back on. We'll talk about restaurants on the road and things you can do.
Ooh, there you go.
But yeah, free
Sounds
food.
good.
And I remember, I think it would have been in Evansville, maybe. I don't know, is one of the places in the Frontier League where they did like an order thing. And
they did that at VA Memorial Stadium.
We did great.
Bring it up to the booth.
No, we did great there for sure.
Sloppy Joe's, man.
Oh, now I'm thinking. Okay, well, I'm getting to the park here soon, so there'll be some hot dogs coming out. I just got, I have to walk too far to get those.
You
hot
got a
dogs.
sack
That's
full of dimes. You can have as many as you want.
I do, and it's on its way. Hey, thank you very much for being on today. Hopefully, we can get you on once in a while as the season goes on.
All right.
I won't take as much
Sounds
as
like
your time,
Thanks
but
for having me.
Yeah, we'll get built up. Okay, take care, my friend.
All right, you as well.
That was Ryan Mitchell, who is a really good friend, and I've known him for a long time, and that was not false praise. He's gone now; he's not listening anymore. So we'll just say he is a really good play-by-play announcer. He's a great voice, great command of what's going on and filling things in. A lot of times when guys will spit out facts about players coming to the plate or somebody that just made a catch or their first hit, in AAA ball or whatever it is. The announcer who's used to just doing the play doesn't know how to mix that in. He does, and he does it really, really well. Okay, we're going to have him on again. Have to, right? Tomorrow's guest will be our first two-time guest, and that is Ed Francis of First Ohio Battery to talk about the NHL playoffs, which start tomorrow. So hope we'll do that. We went a little long with Ryan today, but, telling war stories, and he's just great. So we needed to keep him on for a while, but we don't want to get away from our trivia stuff today. So let's do that right now and get everybody on with their day. Yesterday, we asked the most recent Ohio State track and field athlete to win a national title. That was a statement, but let's put a question mark at the end of it. The most recent track and field athlete to win a national title. That was a question mark. All right, and that we'll give you that in a second. We're doing this because, of course, 15 tracksters and fielders, is that how you say it, are going to Eugene, Oregon, starting on March 11th for Ohio State. and they will be taking part in the NCAA Division I championships. So that's why we asked, who was the last athlete to win a national title? It was Adelaide Aquila, who won the NCAA Outdoor Championship shot put title in 2022. She also won, by the way, the indoor championships for the NCAA in 2021 and the outdoor title in 2021 as well. So she went back to back. But she is the latest person out of Ohio State to win a title at the D1 track and field championships. There's your answer. Today, because we talked a little bit about the lacrosse teams coming up to play at the high school level, we are asking you or telling you to name one of the 3 high schools that began playing lacrosse when lacrosse started. This is per USA Lacrosse. Name one of, that's all you got to do is name one of the 3 high schools that began playing lacrosse in 1882. That's right, an 18 in front of it. 1882. 3 high schools started playing lacrosse in 1882. Name one of them, and we'll have that answer for you tomorrow. Well, that will wrap things up today. A huge thank you to our friend Ryan Mitchell, who I wanted to make Ryan Murphy, but Mitchell actually does sound better. So we'll stay with that, but we thank Ryan for being with us, and we look forward to talking with him very soon and actually seeing him tonight. Clippers, it's Dime a Dog night. It's a 7:05 game against Toledo. Come on out to Huntington Park. If you see us with C-Bus Sports, say hello. Otherwise, buy yourself a few hot dogs. Enjoy the night, and we will go from there. So thanks again to everybody. This is Kevin Rouch signing off for the Daily Scrum. Goodbye, everyone.